Stugotz, I think I have a rival after many, many years of thinking that Michael Jordan had the opportunity. He hits the shot over Russell to win the championship, of retiring in the most perfect fashion possible. And then he decided to keep playing, and we got him in a Wizards uniform, and it wasn't quite the punctuation that would have been perfect. I think I have now a rival to Michael Jordan on a person who could have gotten out at the optimal time and then just blew it. Bob Iger. Disney CEO.
It's a great one.
He got out right before pandemic, as if he knew the pandemic was coming and that parks were going to close in China, as if he knew. He got out, and then Disney gets hit by everything during the pandemic. Cruise ships can't sail, amusement parks, everything goes kaput. And he decides to come back heroically. And now he's going to sell parts. He's going to sell parts of ESPN, gambling. They go into gambling now, and they're going. Disney's not going to want to be with gambling. They're going to sell ESPN. Disney didn't want to be with the UFC once upon a time because Disney is the fantasy brand that doesn't want to be in bed with dirty things. But desperate times, Stugotz, make so that they're going to sell ESPN, and there are going to be many suitors. There are many people interested. Apple, Amazon, they're going to be, everybody. Metalark is not going to be buying ESPN.
Too bad.
Although that would be a hell of a story.
If you purchased ESPN?
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Get it for pennies on the dollar.
Bob Iger had a chance, though. My God, he's got to be regretting that right now.
He's pretty well compensated. I think he's doing just fine.
And he has a second chance because Billy, when he left, things fell apart. Now he comes back while things have fallen apart, and he could be the savior again.
Well, I mean, he's losing the PR battle, right? He's put his foot in his mouth a number of times with the writer's strike and stuff like that. Like, he's losing that. I mean, when he retired, he wrote a book, and everyone was like, wow, look at this guy. We were all gifted his book by our bosses. I read his book during the pandemic. I was like, wow, this is great. Which, by the way, is an incredible move, right? Like, you run a company, and then you're like, you know what we should do? We should buy thousands of my book and give them to the employees. Oh, I'm going to make money off of that? Oh, cool. Like, that's a perk, but everyone should learn from this. It was a great book, by the way. I was like, wow, this guy's like, this is great. And then he said some not great things since he's come back.
Disney has lost, I saw this the other day, it required some context, 12 million subscribers streaming, and it's just because they lost cricket in India as a television rights deal. And so they just, everybody in India is like, okay, don't need any, don't
no
need
reason to watch.
I don't need any more Disney in my life. Cricket is gone. Stugotz, I'm stunned. I thought he was going to run for president. And he had such a pristine image as leader, as conqueror, as genius, and he comes back and all of it is crumbling at his knees in a way that has made for a few PR hits like the one that Billy is talking about. It's just, I've got to think that no matter how much money he's making, it's said to be $25 million a year, that there has to be some regret at what it is that the quagmire he presently finds himself in. You say no, Lucy.
For $25 million?
Yeah.
But he was making that before. He had plenty of money.
It's the Goodell model, right? Like, yeah, I make $40 million a year, and people insult me and say that I'm bad at my job and I'm terrible and blah, blah, blah. But I'm making $40 million a year.
But they've never said that about, excuse me, Stugotz, they've never said about Iger, he's terrible at his job. That's not, Goodell has gotten that since the beginning. That's not something Iger's ever gotten.
Well, what he's gotten now, though, is that he's completely out of touch, right? Where he's saying that writers and people who are in the lower end are being completely unrealistic with what it is that they want in their strike, and he's saying it from a billionaire's retreat. They're like, okay, this guy maybe isn't super in touch with what's going on right now.
But Dan is saying he had the perfect ending, and what we're telling you is, I'll come back. Forget about the perfect ending. $25 million a year, I will do away with the perfect ending. I will risk all that for $25 million a year.
And I would say to you that Bob Iger has made so much money in his career that he will never be able to spend it, and he doesn't need the $25 million a year. Has nothing as a need for that kind of money.
But that hasn't stopped billionaires before. Like, he's still going to go back for the money.
Yeah.
It's got to be really unpleasant to be doing what he's doing right now.
Crazy to think that Michael Jordan only made $1 million a year to come back to the Wizards, and Iger's getting $25 million a year.
Right.
I don't want to be Jordan, but I'll be Iger in this scenario.
Is
if
that
he's
number
bad for 4 years,
correct?
that's according to Sport Track.
$1 million a year
Base salary.
is what Michael Jordan made as a Wizard?
The vet minimum?
He had ownership, though, right?
Oh, look. Yeah, ownership
Yeah.
stake, that changes
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
But his base salary, according to Sport Track.